He's been the star of the show.
Candler, the connection's lethal.
Oh, what a shot!
Howard! Cleared for takeoff. Climbs the mountain. Ends the season on a 29-game winning streak.
Basketball state champion getting their redemption. And they win their first state championship in school history.
Welcome into UIL Spotlight, where we crown champions and celebrate those who are hoisting the hardware. I'm Greg Tepper, alongside Gavin Moritz, looks maxing as usual. You did not have to do it to him.
That I did not, Tepper, and I'll tell you what, we're here to talk about the UIL Boys Basketball State Championships, an event I've been covering since 2018 or so. You and I, very much both younger when we first started covering this event, but same excitement nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. Still young, for the record. Over the course of the next few minutes, we are going to bring you up to speed on every single UIL State Basketball Championship, starting with 1A Division I, where making an appearance back on the big stage, Fayetteville into the 1A Division I State Championship there, and you see their dominant run throughout the tournament on their path to the Alamo Dome on the road to the UIL State Championships presented by Ford.
Yeah, and I want to point out here that they had two really close games during their playoff run, the regional semifinals against Wells. They won that one by a couple of possessions, 6-point cushion there at the end. And then the state semis against Huckabee, they won that one by 4. Huckabee pushed them to the brink a little bit. They pushed Fayetteville to the limit, but Fayetteville able to prevail and get onto the Alamo Dome to face Turkey Valley.
To face the mighty Patriots out of Turkey, Texas, Valley High School. And you can see, I think when you look at this Valley team, the name of the game for them this year was defense. Absolutely spectacular defense all year long, especially in the playoff run.
Absolutely, Tepper. And you see here in their playoff run, they didn't allow that many points defensively, 38, 24, 47, 52, and then 33 in the semis. And a large part of that is their two brothers that we're going to talk about here in a second that really propelled them on their trip to the Alamo Dome.
Let's go to the action down there, the 1A Division I State Championship between Turkey Valley and Fayetteville. And Valley coming in looking for their first title in program history in their third appearance on the biggest stage.
Yeah, they made it here for the first time in 1983 and then again last year, 2025. The Patriots coming in had to, in my opinion, be considered heavy favorites because of senior center Kenyon Taylor. He's 6'10".
Jeez.
Yes, at the 1A level, 6'10". And 6'8" sophomore guard Corbin Taylor, with the duo of brothers providing really a staggering size advantage at any level, but like I said, especially in 1A Division I.
And they were bullies inside early and often, scoring 42 of their 66 points in the paint. And you talked about it. This was a game that they dominated from the word go. Led the ball game for more than 31 minutes. All but 46 seconds of this game, they were out in front.
Yeah, mighty impressive, and Corbin Taylor was impressive himself. He was stellar, dropping 26 points, shooting 12 of 16 from the field. He posted double-digit rebounds as well. Kenyon Taylor on the other end also had 18 points with 8 boards. Carson Tucker, the senior, 13 points on 6 made shots from the field as well. For Turkey Valley, Tepper, coming up just short last year, absolutely dominating in the season finale. The first title in program history could have been sweeter for the Patriots.
You've got to feel really good for the Patriots to bring home their first state championship. Let's hear from the MVP, Corbin Taylor, and his older brother, Kenyon Taylor.
Yeah, we've talked about it like hundreds of times about how cool it would be to be able to win a state championship, kind of show the little kids it can be done. It's just great to do it together, especially on my senior year and his sophomore year. So hopefully there's many more to come for him as well.
I've looked up to him my whole life. Like, he's always been pushing me. You know, little brother, he's the big brother, so he's always going to be pushing me to be better. And it's like, helps me so much just get better. And that's a great example on how to do it.
Corbin Taylor, the MVP, just a sophomore, 26-10 on the big stage. Pretty impressive from that young man.
Yeah, him and his brother were both very, very impressive, Tepper. And I think Turkey Valley, not even just this season, obviously winning the state championship, they have a lot to be excited about coming back next year in 2026, 2027.
From 1A Division I, we go to 1A Division II, where it was a collision of big-time programs at the small school level. Kennard making a trip to the Alamo Dome there, and you see They had to squeak by Richards there in that regional semifinals. That's, I think, what really set the tone for them to make it to the Alamo Dome.
Right, and no playoff run's going to be squeaky clean. You're not going to breeze through every single game, but like you said, in the regional semis, Richards gave Kennard quite the run, a 75-73 victory there for Kennard. They're able to move on, as was Jayton Tepper, who we'll talk about it here in a second. In my opinion, one of the premier, if not the premier athletic programs across the board in the state of Texas. Their playoff run, Gordon, obviously that's one that people look forward to. If not, you get to see Gordon and Jayton in different sports, obviously maybe at different levels, but here they get to face off in the area round in 1A Division II boys basketball, and that to me is the game that you circle right there as a 4-point win for Jayton that really got them here over the hump and back to San Antonio.
Between that and that semifinal win over Whit Harrell, we know that the Jaybirds, going for their 3rd straight state championship, were the team to beat. Let's go to the action down there, the Alamo Dome, our Baylor Scott and White Health highlights. And this was, in a lot of ways, the story of Sean Stanlin, the outstanding playmaker for the Jayton Jaybirds.
Yeah, Sean Stanlin, in my opinion, Tepper had maybe the greatest performance of the entire weekend. He dropped a double-double with 28 points, 15 boards, 5 assists. In this game, Jayton was effective in the areas that, to me, decide a basketball game. Offensive rebounding, which they led 13-4, leading to 13 second-chance points while scoring on nearly 54% of their possessions. And it goes to show you why Ryan Bleeker is one of the premier athletic coaches in the state of Texas, regardless of any sport or classification.
Yeah, and to me, you look at that, you look at Colt Gentry, who went 25-8-2. This is a Jayton team that, Jayton kind of program, athletic program, that won a state championship in football back-to-back. Sean Stanlin was the quarterback of that team, and then, of course, quarterbacking his team to another basketball state championship as Jayton pulls away for a 78-45 win over Kennard for their 3rd straight state championship. Let's get the reaction from the MVP himself, Sean Stanlin.
Our coach told us to attack, and that's one of my, I'd say, best features of me is being able to attack to go to the rim and being able to finish around. And so I was pretty excited coming into this game, knowing that that's something that I could emphasize in my game. And attacking has always been a big part of me because it allows other people to get open on three-pointers and stuff. And I just knew coming into the day, our shoot-arounds and stuff, that was going to be a really good game.
A 33-point victory there for Jayton for a 3rd straight state championship. And you mentioned it. There's an argument to be made. Jayton is one of the premier athletic programs in the state of Texas at any classification right now.
Right, and you look at Jayton, you see him what feels like now every single year, especially this decade, in Arlington in December, in San Antonio in March, and they get it done both in December and in March this school year.
From 1A Division II, we move to 2A Division I, where it was a fascinating cross-regional matchup for a state championship. We start out east on our road to the UIL State Championship presented by your Texas Ford dealers with San Augustine, the Wolves, into the state championship game, and you see their run there having to go through the rough and tumble East Texas to get to San Antonio.
And they got pushed in a couple of these games, especially in the regional final against Hawkins. Hawkins gave them a really, really good run in that game. San Augustine able to prevail 55-53. A couple sort of close ones. Lovelady, they won that one by 10, and then Hearn, they beat them by 8. So you see just San Augustine came in battle-tested, right? Making their first appearance in over a decade. Then you go on the other side to Panhandle, Tepper. Look at this run here. Hale Center, they beat them by 5 in the area round. That's an early test for the Panthers of Panhandle. And then they really didn't get tested again until the state final, making their first appearance on this stage ever in school history.
And so it was a matchup between a team in the state championship for the first time in over a decade against a team making their first ever trip to the biggest stage. Let's go to the highlights of the 2A Division I state championship game, Panhandle and San Augustine. And this was one of the more nip-and-tuck affairs we saw all weekend long.
Right, and I want to note that despite Panhandle leading for 28 minutes of this one, I was impressed with the Panthers' ability to stay poised, even in a close game, and maintain a very steady lead right throughout this game, even when it took clutch free throw shooting down the stretch in the final frame to really make sure this one stayed out of reach of San Augustine. Cooper Brinkley was perfect from the field. He shot 5 for 5 and putting up 11 points and an equal number of rebounds. Caden Armis, though, Tepper, stole the show.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. 17 points, 4 rebounds, and one of the best performances we have seen on the big stage at the 2A level in quite some time. And this game went back and forth there, but Panhandle brings home the 61-58 victory for their first ever state championship. You mentioned him, Caden Armis, the MVP. Let's hear what he had to say after this one.
We knew that was a pretty good team, and one of our things was lean on our defense. And I think we did that pretty well. And coming up to the free throw line, I was like, I got to knock these down. So all the kids in Panhandle see it, and I hope they want to do the same thing as us.
Making history out there in Panhandle, and what a real crowning achievement for that program, which, again, making it to the state championship, and you've covered it long enough. Sometimes you get to that big stage, and the stage kind of gets to you. For Panhandle, it seemed like they played really poised.
Right. It's obviously a lot different, Tepper, to get to the Alamo Dome and you're playing in a very much a larger stage than what you're used to playing in, a high school gym, maybe a smaller college gym. Throughout your playoff runs, you get to the Alamo Dome, it's a lot different. That's a lot bigger of a stadium they fit a tiny court into. So it's a larger scale, but for Panhandle, it didn't matter much to them.
Congratulations to Panhandle, your 2A Division I state champions. On to 2A Division II, where, again, can't stress enough, this is the boys state basketball recap show, right? The UIL Spotlight Edition, right? So why are we talking about Martins Mill and Lipan in 2A Division II? Well, you might remember this as a matchup of the girls' state championship, but Martins Mill into the state championship again, and you see the absolute dominance. Double-digit wins, sometimes by many more than just 10 in their run to the Alamo Dome.
That by-district win jumps out to me, 87-21. I mean, that's staggering to say the least. Chilton, they got them pretty good, 76-35. Beckville, Sherino, Mumford, they kind of ran through their competition pretty easily, did Martins Mill. And then you look at Lipan, the Indians, another team that you feel like is here every single year, especially down in Class 2A. They got some closer tests, but ultimately these are two teams that were very clearly the best two in Class 2A Division II coming into the state championship.
It was such a good game in the girls, we decided to run it back with the boys. It was a 2A Division II state championship game between Lipan and Martins Mill. And in state championship appearance number 17, Lipan certainly looked the part of being at home at the Alamo Dome.
And they felt at home for the entirety of this game, right? Led by Brent Gaylor, they come in on a mission to pick up the Indians' third title in the last 4 seasons. What did it take to win this time, right? 46% shooting from the field, 38% from the perimeter, and they out-rebounded Martins Mill 25-19 overall. Now, Lipan did technically get outdone the offensive glass statistically, but when you're shooting this well, to me, it doesn't matter a ton.
Yeah, and the other thing is the Indians were literally perfect from free throw line. 16 of 16. How often do we see teams struggle at the line? They did not have that. And I will tell you, Lipan tried to get things going, but I think Martins Mill tried to get things going, but I think the story of this game was the Lipan defense really locking them down and coming up with big play after big play.
That they did. Evan Lott was impressive. So was Darius Steed. But for me, of course, it was Court Gaylor, Tepper, who stole the show. Something we've come to expect here. The first family, I would call them, of Texas high school basketball. Not just boys basketball, but on the girls' side, too. As we saw Sydney Gaylor make her mark last week. Brent Gaylor, the head coach. Court Gaylor had his moment.
So an MVP for the sister, now MVP for brother Court Gaylor. Let's hear from him after this one.
Just have that feeling of losing last year to the same team. So we've been, get-go from the season, we started working on things that preparing us for this game the whole year. So having that mindset of we lost last year, we get the chance to play them again. So just kept that in the back of our minds every game and kept pushing forward from there. It's awesome. My little sister, she's a stud, and I love her to death. And it's just awesome. We both got to win, and hopefully we can keep doing it again next year. So it's a great feeling.
Congratulations to the Lipan Indians, the 2A Division II state boys basketball champions. We're just getting started here on UIL Spotlight. Stay with us after the break. We're going to recap the 3A and 4A state championship.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Once a year, a rhythm thunders across Texas. It can't be tamed.
It can only be driven.
Texas is Ford Truck Month. Let's ride. These trucks, they haul, tow, and conquer everything in their path. So hold on tight and drive the Stampede.
The Stampede is running at your Best in Texas Ford dealer. Get 0 for 60 plus 1,000 truck month bonus cash and F-150.
Ford is the best in Texas.
Well, this doesn't look like finding your zen.
Tell me about it.
Shh. Let's get those allergies under control. No talking needed. There you go. You'll be breathing easier in no time. Take back the day. Same care you know and love, available the same day.
UIL Spotlight is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, and Baylor Scott & White Health.
Welcome back to UIL Spotlight, celebrating the Boys State Basketball Championships. I'm Greg Tepper. Let's move on to 3A Division I. That's Gavin Moritz, by the way. That was rude of me. This is Gavin Moritz alongside Riding Shotgun. And let's move on to 3A Division I, where it was a fascinating matchup, cross-regional matchup with Orangefield, the Bobcats, rolling into the Alamo Dome on the strength of what has been a really fun offense led by Carson Willis.
Yeah, and Orangefield kind of had to go through the gauntlet, right? You kind of start in that Southeast Texas general area in the first couple rounds, Dieball and then Hitchcock. Some double-digit wins there. Mahia, they had to go through them in the regional semifinals, kind of out of that kind of upper Centex area. Fairfields, same deal. And then they had to face Corpus Christi London in the state semifinals, which they squeaked out a 3-point win over Corpus Christi London. And it's never easy to go from region to region in your playoff run, right? It's kind of a wacky thing that happens, but they handled it very, very well to make their first state appearance.
First state appearance, back at the Alamo Dome there with just 3 losses on the season, taking on Dallas Madison, who the record is a lot more, littered with potholes there. They entered at 25-12, but once they hit the playoffs, they hit another gear.
And a reason that the record was so littered with those potholes, like you said, is they played up in their competition a lot, especially in tournament play and non-district. And that's why you see here when they get to their playoff run, Pilot Point, Bells, Jefferson, Liberty Ilu, Brownfield, ran through them fairly easily till probably the last 2 games, but even then against tough competition, Dallas Madison was not scared of the competition at all.
They looked the part, looking into the state championship for the first time since 2022. Let's go to the highlights presented by Baylor Scott & White Health. And, Dallas Madison, year in and year out, they are so much fun to watch, and it seemed like they went into this game looking to put on a show.
Yeah, they're not afraid to be physical. They're not afraid to dunk as well, as they had multiple dunks in this game that you'll see Blaine Tatum, our producer, throw up here in the highlight package. But they also shot well, right? 42% from the field here and 33% from the perimeter. Madison led by as many as 19 with about 5 minutes to play, going on a 16-0 run at one point, Tepper, just overpowering this Orangefield team out of Southeast Texas.
Yeah, and I think you look at DeMondre Jones, their senior, who scored in double digits, and then we'll talk about him in a minute, but the MVP, the junior, Josiah Cobb, led the way with 20 points on 6 of 15. He also made 3 big free throws, and every time it seemed like Orangefield was starting to make a run, Dallas Madison snuffed it out. And I think that's been the signature part of their playoff run.
Right, and like we said, they're not scared of competition. They get to the biggest stage, and Dallas Madison does what they do best in winning their first state title since 2022, their last appearance, and for them it felt just like home once again.
Title number 6 goes the way of the Trojans, 70-59 over Orangefield. And you look at the numbers there for MVP Josiah Cobb. He was everywhere, and by the way, just a junior. He is a superstar. Congratulations again to the Trojans of Dallas Madison, your 3A Division I state champions. On to 3A Division II, and one of the most anticipated games of the weekend as the Palestine Westwood Panthers rolled into the Alamo Dome looking like a freight train. This is one of the most fascinating and fun teams in Texas high school basketball, rolling all the way to the Alamo Dome.
And they really rolled through most of the season, right, in 3A Division II, Class 3A. Once you get to Division II in the postseason, they played Rogers, Keene, New Waverly, Onalaska, Aransas Pass. They didn't have really a close game until they got to the state championship, really. And a large part of that is, as we'll touch on here in a minute, Kavian Bryant, of course, the Texas Tech dual sport commit for Palestine Westwood. And you look at the run there for Paradise. One thing I want to touch on here is Paradise, their game's not super close either in their playoff run, but they get to that state semifinal game against Henrietta, took a Cooper Jones buzzer beater 3 to even get them to the Alamo Dome. So Paradise said, hey, we got here. It's not luck. We got here because we're skilled and we're ready for the big moment in the state semifinals.
It was a game about pace, too. Westwood wanted to get up and down. Paradise wanted to win with defense. Let's go to the 3A Division II state championship game between Palestine Westwood and Paradise. You mentioned that this is one of the games of the weekend you were most looking forward to, and I would say it delivered in a big, big way.
Absolutely. Palestine Westwood honestly looked the part through most of this game, as I was personally fully convinced, to be candid, through the first half that Kavian Bryant and the Panthers would maybe pull away. But there was something about this Paradise team, Tepper, that was incredible about them.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that they never went away. That was the thing. They kept having a counter punch, and finally, this whole game was back and forth. Paradise was able to stay close, and then Paradise finally gets the lead here with under 35 seconds to play, and this entire final sequence here was must-see basketball.
Right, you see the missed free throw there. You see Kavian Bryant get the rebound. He's got to run up the floor, tries to go with the runner, loses possession out along the baseline. He can't believe it. Then the inbound pass, right?
One more chance, Bryant for the win, and it's off target. And Paradise brings home a state championship in a game fueled by a 29-point performance from Max Jordan. What a player he was, and we caught up with him after this one.
Just find the open gap, finish. I know my teammates will find me. I trust them. We kind of talked about that before the game. They kind of help off the post, and we practiced that all week. So, we just executed it.
20 points.
Yeah.
He didn't even know how many points he had. That's how unconscious he was out there. 29 points, a heroic performance was Max Jordan, deserving of the MVP.
Absolutely deserving of the MVP, Tepper. And like you said, he didn't even know how many points he had. He had 29. He didn't even know. That's how locked in he was, right? Just like us right now. He was locked in. Locked
in. As we now lock into 4A Division I, a state championship that we all had our eyes on with Fort Bend Crawford, a relatively new program from down there in the greater Houston area. And I will tell you one thing about Fort Bend Crawford. They can fill it up.
That they can, and they scored a lot throughout their postseason run, obviously. 110, 67, 67, 67 again against Navasota. Brazosport put up 82 on them, and a large part of that is Alvin Mosley, their dual sport star for Fort Bend Crawford there. He's a heck of a wide receiver, too, on the gridiron, but he's a great basketball player as well, helping lead them to the Alamo Dome. And you look there, Tepper, at Dallas Kimball, their run. Dallas Kimball, their game's not particularly close, really any of them. Canyon West Plains gave them a decent run in the state semis, but this is a Kimball team that they're high-flying, right? And we'll talk about that here in a second. A team you've come to expect to play at a high level, especially in this decade.
And so it's a Dallas dynasty in Kimball taking on upstart Fort Bend Crawford as the 4A Division I state championship went down at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. And Jalen Hancock, it felt like this was just his day. It felt like everything he was putting up was falling.
It was definitely Jalen Hancock's day, and it was Jalen Hancock's moment. He posted 24 points on 13 shots from the field. He drained a trio of threes as well. And Kimball's defense also on the flip side, stifling.
Yeah, and what I think is really interesting is the efficiency from these Kimball Knights. They scored on more than half of their possessions. And you mentioned Alvin Mosley, right? The star for this Crawford team. They held him to just 9 points. I mean, that is a superstar player. I think that just speaks to how tough this Kimball defense was.
That they were. I mean, you knew coming in, if Fort Bend Crawford was going to have a chance in this game, Alvin Mosley was going to have to get really hot, and Kimball never really let him do that, and that's the mark of a dynasty, right? You stifle the star players of the other program on the biggest stage, and Dallas Kimball able to get it done.
It's title number 9 for the Kimball Knights, a coronation of a dynasty as Hancock and the Knights picked up their 3rd championship for the program this decade. Jalen Hancock, your MVP. Let's hear from their head coach, Nick Smith.
Just having that senior leadership, Ron was on the junior, but he was a starter. Having that leadership, those guys' experience that they gained, that meant everything. And they were at ease. They didn't look at it like it was just another game. Some people say, "Oh, it's just no, it's not." But they're built for playing on these type of stages. That's why we play something with a national schedule.
Dallas Kimball brings home another state championship. Here's a fun fact. My mom went to Kimball. How about that? Hi, Mom. Hosting the UIL Spotlight. And we are rolling into 4A Division II, where Dallas ISD already brought home 1 state championship in 4A with Kimball. What about on the other side? It was going to be Dallas Carter. They'd have to get through a very dangerous 41-1 Lamarck team. This team is a wagon, Gavin Moritz.
That they were. The Lamarck Cougars all season were just a juggernaut. They only had that one blemish on their record. They were coming in their playoff run until they got to Wheatley in the state semifinals, a very close game there. 68-67. That's a Wheatley team that is in this spot very, very often, battle-tested. Lamarck got through them after beating Wimberley and Manor New Tech and Zapata and Ingleside before that. So you knew Lamarck was going to come in ready based both on their playoff run and their season record, just the one loss like we said.
Meanwhile, Dallas Carter, the Cowboys, into their first state championship game since 2018, but also looking for the first title in program history, if you can believe that.
It's hard to believe because of the pedigree that Dallas Carter kind of carries for a lot of reasons. You know, the Dallas ISD, you know, they can play basketball very, very well. They just were never able to get over that hump, and they got through some good teams here to get them at least to that point. Frisco Panther Creek, Athens, Kennedale, Brock, teams that have been here and done that. And Dallas Carter trying to make sure this year in 2026 was their time to finally shine.
It's Carter and Lamarck for the 4A Division II state championship. Let's go to the highlights from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. And the story of this game, Gavin Moritz, was that Carter was just so stinking physical in the paint.
Simply put, I would say undoubtedly more physical, right? Managing essentially half of their 67 points in the paint. 20 forced turnovers, 20 points off of those turnovers, Tepper, but they also controlled the offensive glass with 16 boards.
Yeah, I thought that was a big part of this, is that they were dominant within range of the basket. And the Cowboys were really impressive in transition, too. 15 fast break points. You mentioned that they were filling it up with dunks, a couple of highlight reel dunks for this Carter team. They looked the part, and overall, this felt like a real team effort from the Cowboys.
That it was. They got 14 bench points, in my opinion, seeing arguably the most productive day out of their role players and subs out of anybody that we saw the entire week in San Antonio. But it was their starter, Amarian Hunter, that was phenomenal for them. And the class of 2027 star Tepper messed around and dropped a double-double.
Good enough to be the MVP of the 4A Division II state championship game. Carter wins at 67-41, and afterwards, our cameras caught up with the MVP.
It was crazy because I was on the team that got close twice, my freshman year and sophomore year. So as I was my sophomore year, I knew that I made up my mind I was on this game.
It's a Dallas ISD double as Carter wins 4A Division II and Madison wins 4A Division I. Congratulations to both of those squads. One last break here before we get to the big boys, Class 5A and 6A after the break.
UIL Spotlight is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers.
Once a year, a rhythm thunders across Texas. It can't be tamed.
It can only be driven.
Texas is Ford Truck Month. Let's ride. These trucks, they haul, tow, and conquer everything in their path. So hold on tight and drive the Stampede.
The Stampede is running at your best in Texas Ford dealer. Get 0 for 60 plus 1,000 truck month bonus cash and F-150.
Ford is the best in Texas.
Well, this doesn't look like finding yours in.
Tell me about it.
Shh. Let's get those allergies under control. No talking needed. There you go. You'll be breathing easier in no time. Take back the day. Same care you know and love, available the same day.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
UIL Spotlight is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Baylor Scott & White Health, and your Texas Ford dealers.
It's UIL Spotlight recapping the boys state basketball championships at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Gavin Moritz, Greg Tepper along with you. Let's go to 5A Division I, where it was the Golden Triangle versus the DFW, as Beaumont Westbrook barnstormed their way to the Alamo Dome and looked every bit the part of a state championship contender.
They looked the part of a state championship contender once again, trying to run it back after what they did last year. Angleton, Kingwood Park, Pflugerville Hendrickson, Richmond Randall, Leander Glenn. This is a Westbrook team led by Elijah Garrett, who we'll talk about in a minute, that knew what they had to do to try to get back to the Alamo Dome, and they made it look fairly easy through their playoff run. as did Frisco Heritage, Tepper, who is kind of, in my opinion, the team to beat in Class 5A and then Division 1 entering the postseason.
Frisco Heritage looked spectacular all season long, entering the Alamo Dome with a 33-3 record. And you talk about a game with star power. SMU Mustang, Cam Lomax, Duke Siney, Bryson Howard taking on Elijah Garrett and Beaumont Westbrook. It was a game that had to be seen to be believed. Let's go to the highlights of the 5A Division 1 state championship game presented by our friends at Baylor Scott & White Health. All season long, Heritage looked like the team to beat, and they got going early in this ballgame.
That they did. 16 turnovers forced by Frisco Heritage, leading to 18 fast break points, as Westbrook really had no answer for this high-flying Coyotes squad. Cameron Lomax.
Man, what a
senior,
player.
Yeah, the senior signed to the Hilltop, future SMU Mustang there. Didn't have to make any threes to put up a solid performance, which is impressive to me. 17 points, drew plenty of contact, going 9 of 12 from the line.
Yeah, he was spectacular, as was Bryson Howard. Unbelievable performance from the future Duke Blue Devil.
Yeah, Bryson Howard helped them really pull away for their first title, but the first ever also championship in boys basketball for Frisco ISD. Howard, of course, dropped 28 points and a whopping 15 rebounds, but for the future Blue Devil and son of former NBA star Josh Howard, he solidified his all-time season, wrapping up Mr. Texas basketball in an MVP caliber performance at the Dome.
Frisco Heritage wins at 60-47. Let's hear from that MVP.
Keeping everybody in the right headspace, mentally, because, it's a very tough physical game. So the talk that we had, we were just like, how can we get, our guys, to stay focused throughout the whole season?
Congratulations to the Coyotes of Frisco Heritage, your 5A Division I state champion. So if you like suburban DFW versus Beaumont, boy, do I have a game for you. Because 5A Division II also featured that matchup, with Beaumont United heading to the Dome there with an impressive run through the playoffs. This is a Beaumont United team, a storied program there from the Golden Triangle.
And you talk about Beaumont United, it's no surprise that they're back here once again after what we've seen in the last probably 8-10 years or so. Terrence Arsenault, Cade Dotson, Wesley Yates, guys like that have got them here to this point. And Beaumont United try to make sure that everyone knows that they're not done just yet. That dynasty they had going in the late 2010s, early 2020s, not on pause by any means here.
If they were to go back-to-back, they'd have to get through Mansfield Summit, a team the Jaguars have plenty of pedigree themselves. You see their run through the playoffs and really left no doubt in all their games. I thought that every one of their defensive performances were really impressive.
Yeah, 20 points allowed, 37, 46, 30, 35, including their last two against El Paso Burgess and Lucas Lovejoy. They won those comfortably by about 20 a pop, and so I really think Mansfield Summit came into this game trying to repeat, feeling pretty comfortable.
It's the 5A Division II state championship game, Mansfield Summit taking on Beaumont United. Let's go to the highlights there at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. And, this is a matchup there that I think was going to be dictated by pace. And for me, when you took a look at the mix of talent for this Jaguars team, I think that was the key for them.
For the Jags, it was really, Tepper, a duality of veteran leadership versus youthful productivity, right? I mean, Jackson Sneed, the senior, played 29 minutes. He put up 13, but stealing the show on Saturday was Joseph Creel III, a showstopper. One of those performances that people are going to remember for years to come. Creel, only a freshman. Say it with me, only a freshman. He can't even drive, right? 20 points, 6 made threes, getting it done early and often for Mansfield Summit.
He was unbelievable. Youth was absolutely served. And I'll tell you, this was a guy who, again, we talk about the moment there at the Alamo Dome. Sometimes it's too big for people, and especially for a freshman. But for Joseph Creel, it felt like he could go all day and keep scoring.
Yeah, he had 6 made threes, and some of those came fairly early in this game. There's a reason why Joseph Creel was named our MVP.
He goes 20 points, brings home a state championship there as Mansfield Summit wins at 52-40 over Beaumont United. Let's hear from that fresh-faced MVP.
I was taking shots, I was feeling good. My team was trusting me, that's all it's about. State championship is always the goal, but getting better, working hard every day, that's really going to set you apart.
Congratulations to Mansfield Summit, your 5A Division II state champions. On to the largest division, 6A Division I, where San Antonio had a hometown team to root for as the Brennan Bears didn't have to go far to get to their state championship appearance there. Won a couple of squeakers to get here, but what a team this Bears team is.
Yeah, San Antonio Brennan is a team that year in, year out, especially the last couple years, has been very, very good in the boys basketball department, super competitive. And in the state semifinals, one of the most anticipated matchups against Humboldt Atascocita, they got a very late stop. They blocked a 3 to close that one out. And Northside Brennan was riding high coming in, taking on a team, Tepper and North Crowley, that they got it done against Duncanville. I want to really highlight that game because we all saw how that ended. If you are on social media at all, if you watched the game on Dave Campbell's Texan Live, you saw how that one ended. Incredible, and they were riding high, feeling like a team of destiny to me.
Yeah, I think that when you win that game, one of the most anticipated games of the year there in that semifinal over Duncanville, they felt like the team to beat, but this was a fantastic matchup at the Alamo Dome. North Crowley taking on San Antonio Brennan out of Northside ISD, and I will tell you that this team, I think North Crowley, their message was, we are going to leave no doubt. They ran away and hid in this game.
They left absolutely no doubt, Tepper. They led for 30 minutes of this game, and guess what? Never, not once did they trail. Wow. Additionally, with a 20-point lead halfway through the third, North Crowley had the home crowd dispersing early as the 13-point final score really didn't even do justice to the domination the Panthers displayed throughout this game. They looked the part.
Yeah, they had a ton of big-time playmakers, including their offensive or their MVP, Isaac Hayes, who was really the surprise here. They had a lot of star power on this ball club, did North Crowley, but it was instead the junior, Isaac Hayes, 22 points and 6 assists that really put on a show.
Yeah, he shot really well from the field. He was great throughout the whole postseason run. He was good from the line here as well. Added a pair of made threes. And what are they going to say now about Isaac Hayes? Something along the lines of MVP, we'd imagine. As
North Crowley wins it, the 6A Division I state championship, 65-52 over San Antonio Brennan. Junior guard Isaac Hayes is your MVP. Let's hear from him.
Like I said earlier this week, I was just focused on winning the game. That's why I was really shocked when I won MVP, because I wasn't even focused on that. I was just focused on winning the game. And winning the state, that just means everything else.
And congratulations again to North Crowley, your 6A Division I state champs. Just one game left, and then we're all going home and putting on our basketball jammies and having a long winter's nap. It's the 6A Division II state championship game where the Austin Westlake Chaparrals out of the greater capital city came into the Alamo Dome looking for an opportunity to really build off what I thought was a great state semifinal win over Cy Falls.
Right, and they get that close win over Converse Judson. They're coming off of that, they're riding high, and then they get that blowout win over Cy Falls out of the Houston area. And they kind of got a good mix of both in the regional final and the state semifinals. Austin Westlake, led by the Texas Longhorn signee Bo Ogden, they're riding hot coming into the state championship. But guess what? So is Little Elm, Tepper.
Little Elm, perhaps the most high-flying team in the state, looking to cap off a dream season here as they have looked every bit the part of a state champion with just 2 losses on their road to San Antonio. Is the final game of the 2025-2026 Texas high school basketball season as the 6A Division II state championship between Little Elm and Austin Westlake. Let's go to the highlights, and I thought that you saw the Little Elm defense really flex in this game. They looked like they were going to do anything to make sure that Bo Ogden didn't go absolutely crazy in this game.
And you knew for Austin Westlake, not that this is not a complete team for the Chaparrals, but you knew Bo Ogden was going to have to get going early and often. He actually had, in my opinion, a fairly good game, but Little Elm was just too high-flying. Their defense was too solid, and the Chaps couldn't really counterattack their physicality and, most importantly, the speed there of Little Elm for the Lobos.
Little Elm, 28 points inside and 22 turnovers defensively. Joshua Weems was unbelievable, as was Ian Berry. They combined for 30 points, and then Kensington Candler added 9 more of their own. This was a game where Little Elm really controlled the tempo.
That they did. They settled in early, and then they led for over 28 minutes of this game. They set the tone early, like we said, controlled the tempo, perhaps, Tepper, better than any team we saw all week.
Little Elm wins it 57-35 over Austin Westlake to capture the 6A Division II state championship. Joshua Weems, your MVP. Let's hear from him.
It's a lot, just, this group of seniors, knowing this is our last time playing with each other. It's 9 seniors and 4 sophomores, 1 freshman. And our freshman season got ended short, sadly. But just trying to be good role models for them so there's no drop off next year, because we know they're going to have a hard schedule, and just let them be prepared for those games.
I say just going off of KC, he's an old teammate, knowing his tendencies, knowing that
When he jabs, he'll pull up for a shot, so knock it to the back of him. Just not giving him that much space, denying him, switching off screens. So all that led to him not be comfortable shooting.
My thing going into every game is to not force anything, to get my teammates involved early, because whenever they get going, we play our best. Whenever everybody gets their looks, and then scoring whenever I needed to. So whenever I got an opportunity to share the ball, I just wanted to do that.
Congratulations to the Lobos of Little Elm, your 6A Division II state championship. And that's it. Other than that, not a whole lot going on at the Alamo Dome that weekend. I do want to ask you kind of your overall thoughts, what you saw there in San Antonio.
Right, and I want to touch on a couple of things here, Tepper. One, Region 1 and Region 2 were the belle of the ball there. They won all 12 games. They went 12-0 out of those combined two first two regions, Region 1, Region 2. Secondly, Dallas dominance. If you came expecting Dallas to come out and maybe not perform that well as a city and maybe lay an egg at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, you left severely disappointed.
And Dallas ISD with 3 state championships of their own, with Madison, Kimball, and Carter all bringing home state championships. Congratulations to all the state champions there crowned at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. We appreciate you spending part of your day with us here on UIL Spotlight. For Gavin Moritz and our producer Blaine Tatum, I'm Greg Tepper. We will see you next time.